1961, the FIA granted Watkins Glen the right to host the United States Formula One Grand Prix if the event could be organized in just 6 weeks. And on October 8th, the Glen was ready. Jack Brabham and Sterling Moss put on a show, swapping the lead throughout the early laps. Both men would retire with mechanical problems, and the winner was Innes Ireland, who charged through the field and gave Team Lotus its first ever Grand Prix victory.
Formula One raced for 2 decades at Watkins Glen, and a lot about this Finger Lakes region of New York went into history, including the Glen Motor Inn, where most of the drivers stayed, still run by the Francisi family. The seat swap has begun. You're on board with Lewis Hamilton in Tony Stewart's NASCAR Sprint Cup car. While he makes his way around, we want to remind you, June 24th, Orange County, California becomes home to the greatest collector car event in the world, Barrett-Jackson. The coolest cars on the planet will all be in one place and all up for grabs. Check out Barrett-Jackson beginning June 24th, 5 p.m. Eastern, live on Speed.
You know, Steve, I found it interesting, the conversation between Tony Stewart and Lewis Hamilton about the brakes a while ago. You know, these Sprint Cup Series cars, it's cast iron rotors with 4-piston calipers, pretty much all the brake that the 4.5-inch offset inside that wheel will take.
Yeah, absolutely, and very, very different in the Formula One car, where it is fundamentally sintered carbon. And it takes about 6 months to produce a carbon brake disc. They start off with a cobweb of rayon and then fire carbon atoms at it in a furnace. Get the thing unbelievably hot, but you do end up with incredibly efficient brakes. But you're right, Larry, when we were listening to the two guys talking there, they're having tremendous fun. They've obviously got great respect for each other, and when they're just trying to feed that little bit of information off each other about the brakes, they are very, very different. Lewis will find it extremely different in this car here, because just lifting off the throttle in a Formula One car with the aero drag across the wings, you get massive retardation even before you touch the brake pedal.
Looks like it's drying out a bit out there. What's the over-under on one of these guys coming in and asking for slicks?
Well, the good thing about Lewis Hamilton right now, he won't know the difference in feel between our dry tires or our wet tires on a stock car.
The thing that strikes me, Larry, straight off is how very different the driving position is between the Formula One car and the Impala, where Lewis is now having to sit very upright with the steering wheel very close to him.
Lewis and Tony are talking it over.
Steve, I got to believe the other difference is Lewis Hamilton, I think, sits right in the middle of that Formula One car. Now Absolutely. He's all the way over to the left side.
You're absolutely right.
Here's a part of the track Tony was warning him about, the bus stop chicane. Watch the brakes.
Yeah, just heard Lewis Hamilton on the radio there saying this is absolutely wicked. I mean, he is having a lot of fun.
Saw him hit a little bit of the curbing there in the second corner of the bus stop. That's something the stock cars fight there a lot when we race there.
I mentioned earlier that I'd ridden in a stock car around Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca with Cal Petty, and the other thing I realized about these cars, Larry Mack, is that they road race pretty well, and you can use a lot of curbs with the stock car.
Well, they really do, and these drivers like Tony Stewart, they'll use the curbing a lot of times to make the car turn.
Everybody looking anxiously for Lewis Hamilton to come around from his first lap at Speed.
It's very cool seeing these guys do this. I was impressed there with how Tony was helping Lewis get into the car. I heard Lewis say, you know, how do I start it up? I mean, something so fundamental, but when you're from a different series, wow, you're on a very, very steep learning curve.
Yeah, someone cranks the Formula One car for you.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Yeah. For reasons of weight, weight is everything on a Formula One car. We want to try and keep the weight to an absolute minimum as much as the regulations will allow. So we have an off-board starter, a remote starter. Our engineers, the way our philosophy works is we're only going to use the starter once at the start of the Grand Prix. Then hopefully we're never going to need it again. So let's not have it on the car.
Now, since a Formula One driver is in this car, I won't say the car is loose. It looks like it's a bit of oversteer.
Absolutely. Yes, and, we're learning all the while off each other, Larry, because I'm now understanding what push is as well. It's a new terminology for me. This is cool stuff.
And that lap was faster, 2:12. Let's get down to Ralph Shaheen, hear what Tony thinks about it all.
Hey, your buddy here is starting to lap a little quicker than you. You're going to have to get back in that thing, prove your right to own it?
Don't worry, I still pay the checks on it, so I'm pretty sure I'm all set there. But no, he's doing a really good job. It's fun. He's out there chatting on the radio and having a big time, so that's what it's all about today.
What surprises you the most about how he's driving that car right now and how quick he's adapted to it?
The hard part is I don't have a monitor to see his lap, which is it's killing me. I want to watch his laps running around there because you can tell it's drying out and it's getting some of the grip back. And I can promise you, he is hustling it as hard as he can. So it's fun watching him come off of here because he's giving it 100% on the exits for sure.
Now, of course, he's also raising the bar of what you got to do when you get in the McLaren.
Yeah, I'm not going to even try to beat him on this. The penalty if you miss here is huge, so I'm going to go have fun with it, though.
All right, guys, back to you.
All right. I'm impressed with the way Lewis is adapting to that stick shift. Formula One drivers aren't used to that. I recall the Australian Grand Prix last year. Robert Kubica went to a local racetrack to do a demo run in a stick shift equipped Renault. He wound up burning the clutch out of the thing. He wasn't used to heeling and towing and using the shift lever.
Okay, 10-4, we're going to pit road this time then. We're going to pit road this time.
Going to pit him this time.
Oh, he heard it.
I didn't hear you. You want me to do what? Sorry, radio problem. No.
He does not want to come in, guys. That is sure.
They may actually have to block the track to get him off.
Let's get a state patrol car out there.
He's definitely getting a little more and a little more aggressive with this stock car.
Quicker still, 2:11 unofficially.
No problem.
Now this is the area that Tony was telling him when it's dry and you've got good conditions. On fresh tires, you can run wide open through here, even with the Sprint Cup Series car.
Now, the weather has improved an awful lot from when Tony Stewart was out doing those demo laps at the start. And Lewis Hamilton is taking advantage of this now because you can see the dry line is starting to form.
Through the outer loop. Here comes the chute down into the boot.
Bob, you may have said this earlier. For a man that has never had a roof over his head, I'm pretty impressed.
I believe that's true. I don't think Lewis has ever driven what they would call a tin top back in jolly old. And it looks like he's off it a little bit. Giving the fans a little show. And why not? It's all in fun and a great experience for all of us. We'll take a break in just a minute and be back. It'll be time for Smoke to talk with Hamilton and then maybe get a little revenge by hopping into that McLaren Grand Prix car. Stay with us.